Oh, thank you very much.
Спасибо большое.
This
Рядом
are
между
here
вами,
the
всеми
faithful
теми людьми,
who
которые
stayed to
сидят
the end,
здесь. И нам
and
надеюсь, что
the members
ну,
of
вот,
our
если вам
panel.
хватило терпения остаться до самого конца, все было интересно. И давайте я
There are several themes that have
представлю
emerged
те темы,
over the last few
которые
days,
мы с вами
and
затрагивали последние несколько
I'd like to
дней.
briefly
И мне
review
бы
them, but
хотелось
first,
вкратце
let me call
сделать
to
обзор этих тем, но сперва позвольте мне
the podium the members of the panel.
представить вам членов панельной
So,
сессии.
if you wouldn't mind joining me
Можно будет
on the podium.
попросить вас занять свое место на президиуме.
We have on this panel
У нас
individuals who've been participating
в панельной сессии
all
будут
along.
принимать участие
Simona Martorelli,
Симона Мартарелли,
Alexander Pletzer,
а также Александр Флецер,
Iwaki-san. And I think we can be on a first name basis. And
Давайте я буду просто по имени вас называть, да?
another member,
Еще одним участником нашей панели.
I'm expecting one more.
Я думаю, что
Ольга.
будет еще один человек.
Yes, please join us.
Да, пожалуйста,
Thank you.
присоединитесь к нам, пожалуйста, здесь на панели. Ольша.
A number of themes have emerged in our conversations in the last 2 days.
В ходе наших
One has been
дневных дискуссий, и
appealing
одной из
to
тем является
a young audience that seems to be slipping away from the
относится к
kind of
более молодой
media
аудитории.
that we work
И
in.
это также относится к той медиа, в
And we've
которой мы
seen a number
работаем.
of different
Мы
approaches
увидели
to that issue.
ряд разных подходов
Another theme has been
в этой
Big
сфере.
data.
Еще одной темой стали большие данные,
because the
потому
means of
что
delivering our content
они
today
являются
affords us
средством
the possibility of
донесения
capturing
контента,
vast amounts of data
но
about
при всем при
our
этом здесь есть
content
возможность покрыть
consumptions
большие
and about how to
объемы
go
данных.
about the process of analyzing and making sense of that
Мы
data.
думали о том, каким образом можно анализировать и
Another
оценивать эти
theme
данные.
has been,
Еще одной темой
it was replicated this afternoon, fake
стала
news, false
тема
news,
фальшивых новостей и ложных
and
новостей,
how
которые мы
it is
обсудили
affecting
сегодня
our
после обеда.
credibility as
И мы говорили о том,
journalists
каким
in
образом
our
это
field.
влияет на нас, как на
These seem to be
журналистов.
the issues that are bothering us, that are
Такие
concerning
вопросы
us
нас
as
беспокоят,
professionals over the last 2
как
days.
профессионалов, и мы
So,
обсуждали все это последние 2 дня.
Looking at
Поэтому,
these issues
когда
and
мы
thinking more
рассматриваем
broadly,
подобные вопросы,
we're left with the
более
question,
широком
do we
смысле этого
know
слова,
where we are
но нам
at
в
this
первую
time?
очередь нужно задаться вопросом, да, знаем ли мы,
And
кем
so
мы
I'm going to
являемся.
call
И поэтому я бы
to,
хотела
I'm going to call to answer that question. I hope you have an answer.
попросить
Alexander Pletzer,
Александра Флецер
who will help us
ответить на этот
answer
вопрос.
where
Может
we
быть,
are
вы
today
поможете
and
нам,
where we go from here.
ответить на вопрос, где мы сейчас
Thank you.
находимся.
So,
Ladies and gentlemen, this video aims to present RTBF of the future,
The video.
or RTBF of the turfu,
К
as the kids say.
сожалению,
We're not here
перевод
to
на русский
beat
язык
around
не
the
может
bush, so
быть
without
переведен,
further ado,
так как
what
переводчикам
will
очень
the
плохо слышно.
A few words. So you
no,
Вы
what's the
знаете,
video is about.
о чем это видео,
We are
и
discussing about future,
мы
turfu,
обсуждаем
like we say in
будущее.
young language, in French. And for us in RTBF in Brussels, it's not exactly the future anymore, it's the
Может
present.
быть, часть
We
нас воспринимает это как
start
будущее, а
a
больше как
process of
настоящее, потому что мы
reorganization of all the
начали
company,
процесс реорганизации всей компании,
RTBF, according of all
в
these
соответствии со
challenges
всеми
that
этими
we
вызовами,
all face.
с которыми мы все
And
сталкиваемся.
the
И
video
поэтому
explains it
в данном
perfectly,
видео
and
всё
we'll
идеально
come back
объясняется.
just
И поэтому
after. Please enjoy the video.
я
And
вернусь
now
после того,
you
как
can
вы
start.
посмотрите видео. Теперь вы можете воспроизвести данное видео.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video aims to present RTBF of the future, or RTBF of the turfu, as the kids say. We're not here to beat around the bush, so without further ado, what will the RTBF look like in 2022? To be honest, we're not quite sure yet. Not quite. But that's precisely what's so exciting. Right now, we can only pave the way for changes that must be introduced gradually, which begs the question, Why change? Like any company, the RTBF has its own set of values. We're bold and connected, we're diverse, transparent and respectful, and as a public service, we want to perpetuate these values. It's no secret that the world of media is constantly evolving. If RTBF plans to stay connected to all walks of society, including our youngest viewers, we must adapt. But don't worry. Adapting does not mean losing our identity. On the contrary, it's about fine-tuning new formats so we can perpetuate the values we hold dear. Because if we don't adapt, we could run into difficulties, in fact. So it's important that RTBF is open to learning. Vision 2022 is not the be-all and end-all. It's a philosophy, an evolutionary path made for and by its collaborators. But if we want to stay true to our roots, we must prioritize the production of Belgian Francophone audiovisual content. RTBF intends to be the leader in this. Ta-da! And now, bing! I've got the feeling I'm losing you and you're thinking, they're trying to send us to sleep with all their abstract ideas. Of course not. Everything's been well thought through and RTBF intends to use concrete methods to achieve its objectives. That's why we've chosen to tell you about it now. Normally this kind of project is hush-hush, kept between the inner circles. Not this time. Our transparency shows the need for mutual investment and involvement in Vision 2022. This begs a second question. In practice, how will we do this? Today's RTBF model is media-oriented with a clear distinction between radio, TV, digital. We plan to rethink this, orienting our model clearly towards our audience. The idea is to understand our different audiences, their affinities and expectations, and offer contents adapted to the platforms they use. This relies on contents being cross-media, not limited to one format. Our product could be adapted for radio, internet TV, social media, and all existing platforms for any useful format. We call that 360-degree vision. Just don't get a crick in your neck. So exit radio, TV, and IRTBF distinctions. Enter two major hubs. The Media Hub and the Contents Hub, both supported by technology and a range of services that we will call our support team. The Contents Hub will rely on the talents and methods of the RTBF production team. They'll be in charge of suggesting, creating and producing contents according to audiences identified by the Media Hub. These contents will be organized according to large themes adapted for all formats. But watch out! The Creative Hub are more than just lackeys. Oh yes. Their creativity will play an important part, and then there's the commissioning. Yeah. The Belgians like this word. They think it sounds classy. In a nutshell, commissioning is a collaborative editorial planning process acting as a crossroads where both hubs can exchange ideas, promoting transparency and openness. It's an opportunity to pinpoint strategic and editorial challenges and foresee content, financial and production needs. It includes long cycles that allow for a long-term strategic vision, but also shorter cycles that focus on seasonal or short-term offers. All this can only be achieved by closely following new technology. It's our lifeblood today, so we need to constantly be on top of it. Our technology teams will be tasked with ensuring their tools are efficient as possible and adapted to the needs of our media and contents hubs, as well as the evolving usage of our audience. We can go no further without mentioning what we've called our support team, who will ensure the smooth general daily operations of our company. To understand this better, let's look at a concrete example. Chicory, an import.
So chicory was the key word for them. And of course we have an example, 4 more minutes, we're running out of time. If we have time at the end of the panel, we can go further in chicory if you are interested. What is interesting, you see, we are in the middle of this process. On the 1st of September, the organization will be like it is explained here. All the new responsible of department are now in process to be nominated, to be appointed. They passed exams and application in a transparent process. And what I want to underline just before to give the floor back is that all this change is necessary. We will answer to a lot of challenges, I can confirm it, but it's also a human question, because of course the working process will change. So some worker will lose their job, as we can say. So there will be a lot of training process to adapt their job to the new obligation, and that's what we are, where we are now. It's most of the staff in RTBF are optimistic on this, but maybe not all, and some are fear for their job because maybe they could not adapt to the new process to be implemented. So that's why we are.
So, now that we know where we are,
Теперь, когда мы знаем, кем мы
where are we
являемся,
going?
в каком направлении
Where
мы
will we go
движемся,
next?
We know where we go because we
Okay.
have our organization. So
That's
являемся
where.
такой организацией. Хорошо.
Our next speaker I'd like to call up is Simona.
Следующий спикер
Simona,
это Симона.
I think you have a
Симона,
presentation
может
to
быть,
share with us.
у тебя есть какая-то
No?
презентация, которую бы ты хотела поделиться
no.
всеми
Please,
нами?
please.
Хорошо, пожалуйста.
Audiovisual,
Или у нас есть аудио
in the global audiovisual market, we
и
have different
видеорынок
players. We don't
с
only have
разными
the
игроками.
European commercial
У нас есть и
broadcasters and the
европейские
US media
коммерческие
conglomerates,
вещатели и
but we have the
конгломераты,
European telecom
медийные
operators and the
конгломераты в
internet
США, и
and tech
также есть очень
giants.
много технических
And
гигантов и разные
so they are,
интернет-компаний, поэтому
oops, what have I done? Yes. And we also have especially public
также
service media
нам
under
приходится
threat,
работать,
which is what's
сталкиваться с
happening now
угрозами,
in various
под
countries.
которыми
You all heard
находятся
about
общественные,
the
да,
turmoil
медиа,
in Switzerland with the
государственные
recent
медиа, и
referendum
хочется отметить и
for the
недавний
abolition of the license
референдум,
fee, meaning the abolition of the public service media. Thanks God, everything went
который был
well,
посвящен
72%
отмене
in favor.
медиа
It
в
was
сфере
a massive
государственном секторе.
campaign
И
where
также
all
хочется
Swiss
отметить, что
citizens have
проводилась кампания, в
participated. It
которой
was really
принимали
something.
участие все
In France, President Macron is launching this
швейцарские граждане. Во Франции Макрон
audiovisual reform,
также
and
хочет
the talk
провести
talks about
реформу
a disgrace of
в
the public
аудио-видео
service media,
секторе.
and also in Denmark that
Дании также
the right-wing parties asked for
партии просят
20% cuts of the budget.
урезать
Well, so our globally competitive environment
медиа на
is
20%.
this,
В такой конкурентной
and
среде
so the top 5 internet
у нас есть
giants earn
топ-5
12
интернет-гигантов,
times more
которые
than all the
12 раз больше
64
зарабатывают,
public
чем
service media
все
put together.
64, да,
So
общественных медиа.
even though I
И
would like to stress
несмотря
the
на это,
fact
я бы
that
хотела
public
отметить
service
тот
media
факт, что
devote more
общественные
than
медиа
52.6% of their accumulated revenues to programming expenditures, meaning almost 19 billion euro, which is more than Netflix for the time being and Amazon, and 83% of this programming expenditure is in original content. So I always have a touch base with the European Union policy framework, because they actually, the European